Welcome to the Driven to Succeed Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Olson, and today I have a very special guest, Emily Blake from the Chris Fritsch team at EXP.
Yes.
And Emily, I'm very excited to have you on. You are newer to the business, so it's kind of fun and exciting for you. This is a great time for you.
Mm-hmm.
But you came over from being a special educator,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And, just kind of talking with you a little bit, just wanted to get a little bit more of that. So what made you decide to get into being a real estate agent?
Yeah, so I did come from a special education background. So I taught for 3 years. And then COVID happened, and I started reflecting more and wanting to maybe look at different options. And also during COVID, I started running marathons. So I had this thought where I wanted to just do it all, you
Right.
know? So I wanted to try a different career. And I had this amazing opportunity with the Chris Fritsch team. So I met with Chris, we talked about it, and I thought it would just be an amazing fit.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so Chris Fritsch is a lifelong family friend, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I'm assuming a mentor to you now.
Yes, a huge mentor.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're new to this business, because we have a lot of people that watch this that we've, done some episodes on, like, if you want to be a real estate agent, what do you got to do?
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about that a little bit. So
Mm-hmm.
during your process of getting your license and
Mm-hmm.
everything, like, tell me a little bit about that. Like, were you a little bit overwhelmed to begin with?
Yes. So I'm the type of person who wants it all done right away, results.
Okay.
So once I made my decision, I signed up for my classes right away and just went all in. I finished that within 2.5 months.
Nice.
And from there, I just joined the team, which was monumental in my success so far because at every deal,
Hmm.
I'm talking with an agent on the team, talking with Chris or Jason, and just making sure everything is right. The systems have been amazing, but it's really just been diving all in and
Right.
getting that support from my team.
Yeah, as a new agent, I mean, there's so much that you don't know, right? Like
Everything.
everything. It's like, oh, how do I handle this? And it just takes transactions after transactions because you get
hmm
things that need to go into escrow. And like,
hmm
we see it as a lender, I see it all the time and like, hey, we want to escrow for this. Well, we can't escrow for this, right?
Yeah.
And there's different things. So I mean, to have that, and I tell every agent, like, some agents that's been, like 2, 3, 4 years and they never were on a team. They're just like, hey, I'm a
Mm,
Remax agent, right?
yeah.
I'm getting on my own business. And it's like, joining teams is kind of the way to go right now, for sure. I mean, that's the last 5 years. That's what most people have done. I think in the last decade, that's, in the past, you didn't necessarily join all these teams. But
Okay.
now,
Yeah.
you do it now, and you have to have those resources
hmm
because I mean, it's very, very hard to get going in the business in the first place, right?
Absolutely.
But by joining teams and having the systems in place to get
hmm
leads,
hmm
so you're not just calling your sphere and then trying to put things out on social media.
Yeah.
You want to do that anyway,
hmm
but that doesn't feed all of the business you could get, specifically in a market that we're in right now,
For
right?
sure.
It's very hard. So you
hmm
have to have these systems in place. So, that's my biggest thing to most people. I've got to grow when I got in the business. I got to grow with some of my agents,
hmm
and we learned it, but I was on a team as well. I learned, you know, everything I know from my mentor.
hmm
And then finally after 3 years, I'm like, well, I'm ready to go on my own. And I think I could have did it a little bit earlier, but to have that extra year was probably really, really good for me. Um, because it just, I mean, the ease of like, oh, well, what do I do if this happens?
Oh, yeah. Just that support, that
Right.
phone call away.
Exactly.
hmm
Um, and so talk to me a little bit more. You had said something interesting before about your relationship building. Like, obviously coming from a special educator,
hmm
position, you probably have a little bit more of that ability,
hmm
right?
Yeah, so that's what means the most to me. And that's originally why I went into special education because I'm such a caregiver and an educator at heart, too, where I feel like that has just expanded in my real estate career, where I'm able to not just be a real estate agent, I'm developing relationships with my clients that when the transaction's over, I'm sad because they
Right?
don't need me anymore. Well, for now, but
100%. You just have to stay in touch with them.
yeah, absolutely. And I want to do the extra thing for them, like go to their house, drop off flowers, and just to build these relationships early on in my career that will lead to referrals and mhm,
That's where, the biggest thing, we can all buy leads and
mhm,
spend as little as $1 a lead to as hundreds of dollars of leads for the better ones. But the best ones are the referrals,
mhm,
100% nonstop,
mhm,
right? So, by giving that customer relationship and, providing that, that's huge. One of my biggest things is, as having a team myself and coaching and doing things is always like, I'm always, you said something key, about that relationship and like,
mhm,
you feel for them and like you have that empathy, right?
mhm. Yep.
So I specifically have lost sleep on transactions because something comes up in the middle of the transaction and you're like, how am I going to solve this? I got a buyer, a seller, I got agents,
Oh
on
yeah.
both sides, and it's like everybody is always trying to make these transactions work,
Mhm,
but sometimes there are things that just like that get uncovered in the process, right?
mhm.
Oh well, we didn't know about this, and like I had one time where I had someone had been 25 years earlier, they had been inherited a little piece of land on a lake
Okay.
with no building structure. It was just a piece of land.
Mhm.
And we didn't know anything about it. He's like, well, I don't really have that. And him and his sister, and it pushed us over our debt to income because of the taxes
Oh
on this
yeah.
lake.
Mhm,
And like we had to figure it out. We figured it out, but I mean, it's just like those type of things happen. So,
mhm.
um, what do like, what I always teach is like if something comes up, you have like I would say 24 hours before 24 hours to find all the solutions and make sure that
I like that.
when something happens,
Mhm,
you just don't like call like, hey, we got this going on. We're trying to find a solution. You want to find the solutions first, right?
mhm. Yep.
So that's one of the key things, that being the empathetic side, and
Mhm.
that's what I love that to hear that you have, because I came from the car business where it was we had to make every dollar we could on a car,
Oh
right?
yeah.
So it was our deal to
Mhm,
make as much money per client, and now it's totally different, right?
mhm,
Now it's like, whether I can't mark up anything. There's no rates to mark up. It doesn't matter. It's just now it's just to find that person the best on the financing side. So
yep.
like on your side,
Mhm.
you know, I'm sure that your team is teaching you like, what to look for in a house, and that way, because some buyers will just walk in and they're probably like, I love this place,
Oh yeah.
right? And you're like, okay, well, let's write, right?
Right? That
Um,
usually doesn't happen, but
no, but you probably have to look at all the things of the house, right?
mhm.
And be like, here's the pros and cons,
Oh yeah, I'm learning something new every day.
right? Right.
Mhm,
That's the fun part about the beginning of it, when you're actually learning all of this, your trade,
mhm,
and having fun with it, and in knowing that, when you are newer,
mhm,
you may not know everything,
mm,
and to be able to talk to people and just say, hey, let me look into this. And having a team as extensive as the Chris Fritz team is,
mhm.
you can have answers at your fingertips,
Yeah.
right? And this is how you train,
Mhm.
because every transaction is different.
Absolutely. And with lenders too, and partners in the business, developing those relationships, not just with the team, my team and my
Hmm.
clients, but having those relationships with business partners has meant a lot to me too, growing in the industry.
100%. Number one, if we're going to refer people back and forth, we want to make sure that we are sending somebody to, a competent person, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I grew a lot with some of my agents, and then I've had a lot of newer agents that come in, and I've watched them go from like 3 transactions a year to like 25,
Mhm.
and to like 40. And like we've been able to work together. And, there's a lot of stuff that on my side that I like to help with from the
Mhm.
lending side. I had one the other night. Actually, we talked about this Taylor that was on a previous episode. She had texted me on a Friday. What do I say to this? And as there was like, why would I give up my interest rate that I have now to buy a new home at a
Mhm.
7+% interest rate?
Yeah.
And she said, what do I say to this? And I said, well, there's a couple ways you can look at it.
Mhm.
Like, I totally get it. What a lot of people are doing is they're actually keeping that home, renting it out, subsidizing their new home because they're renting it out, cash flowing.
Mhm.
Say they have an $1,800 payment, they can rent it for $2,500.
Mhm.
And that subsidizes that new payment, knowing that likely in the next 3 to 5 years, we're going to see much lower rates. We're going to be able to refinance. And then at that time, the pent up demand is there. They can sell that home and
Mhm.
take the equity. And
Absolutely.
she's like, oh, that's amazing.
Mhm.
Right. So,
I just had a deal that they did that.
yeah. So
Mhm.
it's been very common. That's kind of what's feeding into our market right now,
Mhm.
where we really don't have, a lot of inventory, is because people are like, my house is an ATM right now,
Yeah.
with a
Mhm.
super low interest rate and equity just keeps building. If they can find the money to get 5% down to buy the new home,
Mhm.
if they haven't lived there, if they lived there for at least more than a year,
Mhm.
they can move in that new home, right?
Yeah.
So there's just lots of different ways. So these are like the coaching things that I like to
Mhm.
do with clients, or with, well, clients and agents, and so forth, so that we can be that team, right?
Absolutely.
And so forth. So now we had talked about, like, you had discussed a little bit about your work ethic, right?
Mhm.
And like, well, obviously did you just pick up running and start go for a marathon, or were you like in track in college or high school or anything?
No, so I played volleyball through
Okay.
college, but I hated running.
A
So,
lot of people do.
yeah, but I really did not like it. So I saw some of my friends on social media just running like half marathons, and I thought, if they can do it, I can do it. I'm competitive at heart, so that came out a lot. But I just decided, the gyms weren't open. I'm
Mhm.
gonna try this. I just put it on my calendar, and I signed up for Grandma's Marathon, and I just did it.
Just
Yes, and it was the best thing I've ever done.
that's
It
awesome.
it actually changed my life.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Those little things like that you do, and you specifically when you obtain that, right?
Mhm.
You set your goal and you just go do it, right?
Mhm.
And that's key.
Mhm.
And again, this is a lot about getting to know you, right?
Yep.
And why people would want to work with you,
Mhm.
right? And with the support system that you have and the
Mhm.
work ethic. Um, yeah, I couldn't imagine like going back to like being a special ed or being a teacher.
Yeah,
I couldn't imagine going through, what you did during COVID, right? Like,
for sure. It was some of the best times and some of the worst
yeah,
times, and I learned so much from it. But yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Well, what you did learn is that, well, you didn't want to necessarily do that the rest of your life.
Yes, I love the community of individuals I worked with, but
Mhm.
I feel like I can someday, with all my goals and dreams I have, can make a difference in real estate through helping individuals with special needs.
Yeah. Well,
Mhm.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
One of the best things you can do is find that niche, right?
Mhm.
And, do things that others aren't doing. So if you're talking about like that kind of a niche and
Mhm.
finding the right homes that fit those people,
Mhm.
that's a great opportunity to market yourself.
Yep.
So that's fantastic. What other ambitions do you have in real estate? Like, do you want to be like a real estate investor yourself at some point?
Yeah, great question. Actually, I have plans of next year buying my first duplex and starting my portfolio from there.
Perfect.
I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I eventually want to transition to a Florida license too, so I
Mhm.
can have a place down there too, because I can't do the winters anymore.
The perfect world. Well, I'm like in
Yes.
Florida as well, so
Oh, amazing.
it's yeah, that is a very good ambition to have. So um let's talk about that
hmm
multifamily and starting portfolios and what
Yeah.
like a lot of people I over the years I've done this for quite a few people where their first home
hmm
you buy as a duplex, right?
hmm
You live in one side, so you don't have to put down 20%.
hmm
It's not an investment property. You can do a FHA is like the best because it's a 3.5%
hmm
down. Home Possible does like 5% down. So it's low cost to get into it, but then it subsidizes because you're renting out the other side,
Yep.
right?
They're paying you rent.
Yes. And then after a year or 2 years, you buy the next one, right?
hmm
Um, you know, I couldn't do it anymore just because I have too much stuff and I couldn't move every couple of years.
Yeah.
But I've watched one guy do it in a matter of 5 years. He ended up having like 7 properties.
Okay.
The first two he moved into, and then after that he was starting to cash flow. He was renting out every single room, so he was getting like 4 or 5 bedroom homes,
hmm
renting out every single room, and just cash flowing
Oh,
so
yeah.
much on each one.
Nice.
And then next thing you know, he was able to start investing and putting the 20% down to get the next property. And last I
hmm
talked to him, he was on to he had another partner. They're building or buying apartment buildings,
Nice.
and like all by the age of like 28.
hmm
So I didn't have that step in my career. I wish I would have,
For sure.
because it goes a long ways. But being able to teach not just you know others, other real estate agents,
hmm
but your clients, and
hmm
showing them that, and specifically in your demographic and age group,
hmm
there's a lot of people in your age group that are like, oh, I just live at home for a while, right?
Yep.
And
hmm
then or when they finally start to build their portfolios down the road. But one of the best wealth producing things ever is real estate.
Yes.
Actually, the number one.
hmm
It is what it is.
hmm
Um, what other things do you like, how do you see like this winter, with the markets obviously slowing down,
hmm
right? We don't have very many homes on the market. Um, but there are people waiting to buy, right? So
hmm
there is a pent up demand.
Yeah.
Um, and so do you have any, and I'm putting you on the spot right now. Do you have
Oh,
any outreach things that you're looking at doing, or does your team do any outreach stuff, like any community events at all?
yeah, we do community events. We actually have a Shoot for the Cure. So we partner with St. Jude's Children's Hospital.
Awesome.
And then we have client events each year. So our big ones are a golf tournament, the Shoot, which is this Friday.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then a pie giveaway
Okay.
for Thanksgiving.
Right on.
But again, just remaining in front, belly to belly with
Right.
our clients, with our people,
Right.
and just not being afraid to have conversations and not being afraid to go out there, even when it is, a
Right.
hard time in real estate.
Yeah, and the only reason why it's a hard time in real estate right
hmm
now is, I mean, really, to be honest, it's the interest rates.
hmm
Like we just came out of the lowest interest rates that they've ever been
Yeah.
for literally 24 months,
hmm
and 65% of homeowners have a 3.25% interest rate or less.
hmm
So they don't want to trade that, what we just talked about. They don't want to trade that in
Of course.
for a 7+ interest rate,
hmm
and now that is going to change. And then also those houses are going to start flowing back on the market.
hmm
But right now there's the investor, which is kind of nice. The investors have taken a step back
hmm
finally, so they're not buying as much. I mean it was like in the middle of COVID, and investors are like 40%
Yeah.
like buying
hmm
properties, right?
hmm
And you had big companies, the BlackRocks of the world, that were
Yeah.
the institutional investors.
hmm
So the average person was trying to buy a home and competing with a cash offer,
hmm
and they're trying to do finance. So I feel like right now is specifically a really good time for buyers. to
Mhm.
get into it,
Yep.
because guess what we're getting? We're getting sellers to pay closing costs.
Mhm.
We're getting if we can get additional money to do like a 2-1 buy down. So the first year we're 2 points off. So it's not 7 anymore, it's
Mhm.
5,
Mhm.
right? And like $200-300 a month it saves. And then it's very likely in most models that we're going to see lower rates in a couple of years.
Mhm.
So you take the rate for what it is right now, as long as you can afford it,
Mhm.
and know that, because there's a lot of people that are like, oh, we're just going to see this crash. And it's like, there's not much inventory to crash is the problem, right?
Mhm.
So we'd have to dump tons of inventory on and have rates even go higher for it to be like, then we got to crash, right?
Okay, yeah.
And I don't see it that way.
Yeah. I don't
You
either.
don't either, right? I mean,
Mm-mm.
it's still, I mean, if you get a nice property and it's priced right, it's still going multiple offers,
Mhm.
right?
And I think it's a lot about educating the clients too, because a lot of them just don't know this.
Right.
And they think if they do wait, the rate will come down. But then again, there's not going to be that inventory when everybody's wanting to buy
the,
again.
the pent up demand is right. So I
Mhm.
mean, the second rates hit, I think low sixes again, it's just going to keep pushing the prices of homes up. I
Mhm.
just posted the other day about, Zillow came out and they show over the next 13 months a 6% increase in our area value again, right?
Okay.
And when people are
Mhm.
like, "Oh, we're way overinflated," and I'm arguing with some people, direct messages like, "Why are you saying this?" I'm like, "Well, this is reality."
Mhm.
And I think I've said that in numerous podcasts in the past, but like 2008 crash, this is way before I even was in the industry, but the 2008 crash, we had 23,000 homes on the market any given month,
Yep.
right? And then we had the crash happen and 10,000 foreclosures came on. So now we have
Mhm.
33,000 homes. Do you know what the number is right now? It's like
I don't.
6,000 homes on the market at the
Yeah,
moment.
super low.
Yes, it's way low.
Mhm.
So again, we don't know what the future exactly holds, but it
Mhm.
is very, I mean, every model is showing more lower rates, but getting in sooner than later. And if you really look at, okay, if you are renting right
Mhm.
now and you're waiting and waiting, you look at what your rent is going to be over the next 24 months and all of those other bills, and then you still go in now at a higher price.
Mhm.
So yeah, maybe that home isn't 300 anymore, it's 315, or well, let's just say 400
Yeah.
anymore, it's 416,
Mhm.
a year from now.
Mhm.
So you just had 16,000 that equity went up, and on top of it maybe you have rent for 2,000, you just spent 24,000, that's $40,000 over the next 12 months, right?
Mhm.
So just being able to educate your buyer
Yep.
and making sure that they understand that what the market is, right? And we're using real numbers, and this
Mhm.
is where it's the real statistics and the real outlook on things,
Mhm.
because that's just simply where we're at.
Yeah, and again, when we're educating too, I think it's so important to build that trust with the client too, because they can go out and hear this from any agent, any loan officer too, but
Correct.
it's about truly building that relationship with them, and
Hmm.
because this is the one of the biggest purchases of their life.
Yeah, I always use the analogy that I'm a farmer.
Oh,
Like
what kind of
I'm a
farmer?
farmer, yes. I'm going to plant that seed and we're going to harvest it, whether it's
Okay.
tomorrow or
Mhm.
it's 6 months or a year from now. Because I got plenty of people where they're like, yeah,
Mhm.
I'm waiting till next year because of
Mhm.
this, this, and this, and this, right? Perfect. Well, the best time ever, find out, talk to a real estate agent,
Mhm.
talk to a lender you want to talk to them, and just understand your path,
Yeah.
right? Like I get many, many people that will come and they're like, oh, I got this credit, I got this, and this.
Mhm.
And what's your timeline? Oh, our lease is up in 6 months.
Mhm.
So they wait to contact me until 60 days before the lease is up. And guess what
Oh
happened?
yeah.
Something came up
Mhm.
on credit, their score isn't where it was, or they didn't, oh, I forgot about that.
Mhm.
This happens all the time. It's like if we would have had that 4 months ago, I could probably got to get you to the next level and make things a little bit smoother, right?
Mhm.
Better rate, better this, better that, right? Um, so that's where I always encourage people, and that's why I'm probably talking about it again, is make sure that people talk to the agent,
Mhm.
talk to the lender, get that
Mhm.
plan in place. And again, whether it's today or a year from now,
For
you're,
sure.
you're ready to go,
Mhm.
right? Well, I'm excited to follow your journey in your
Oh,
career,
thank you.
because I've watched, obviously we became friends on social media,
Hmm.
and I started watching you with your closings and like
Hmm.
that. I mean, it's pretty impressive so far.
Oh, I appreciate
That's why
that.
you got the call. And I'm very happy to have you on. Is there anything that you want to say to any potential people out there that want to reach you? Like, how do they reach you?
Yeah, you can just follow me. My Instagram is Emily Blake dash
Yeah,
underscore. What?
underscore.
I should know that.
Yeah.
Realtor on Instagram, or yeah, just the Chris Rich
Yeah.
team. You'll find me on there.
Yeah, and we'll put all your links in here too. So if anybody wants to talk to Emily, where
Mhm.
so Emily, where are you guys mainly at? Like the NOCA, the Northern Metro area? Is that where you? But I mean, obviously, you probably work all over the Twin
Mhm.
Cities. But where's your focus?
Yeah, so we do a lot of business in the northern suburbs. So Anoka, Ramsey, Otsego,
Yep,
that area.
awesome.
Hmm.
All right. Well, again, I look forward to watching you grow as a real estate agent,
Hmm.
in your journey. And thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
And for all the people out there, please contact Emily for any of your real estate needs. Um, Lending needs, obviously contact me. Like and subscribe. But thank you all, and thank you for coming on.
Thank you. You're amazing.